Okay, so my starter has doubled. It looks like that. We're gonna put it into the bowl. We're gonna put 100 grams or something close enough to 100. Okay, that's 109, but that's okay. Now we are going to put in 375 grams of water. Now I have a Danish whisk, but you can use a fork or a spoon, and you're just gonna mix these together until it's nice and milky. All right, now you're gonna zero out your scale, and you're going to put in 12 grams of salt. Okay. And now we are going to put in 500 grams of flour. All right, so I have 500 grams in there. And now you can take it off the scale, and you're just gonna mix everything together. You wanna make sure you get all the flour off the sides of the bowl. You want everything to be nice and mixed. It's not going to be a dry dough, it's gonna be a little bit moist, so that is okay. I just wanna mix it all together. It's gonna be a shaggy dough. Get as much as you can off the walls. If you can't get it all, that's all right, but as much as you can. And then, all right, I got all the flour off. So that is all mixed. It's not too wet, but it's not too dry. It's just the right amount of moistness. You can kind of see, like, my hand already had some on, but like if you touch it, it's not really sticking too much. That's a good consistency. If it's too wet, add a little bit more flour. If it's too dry, add a little bit of water. Do it at about a tablespoon until you get to the right consistency. And now you're just going to wrap it up with plastic wrap and let it sit for 30 minutes. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes. So we are going to perform our first stretch and fold of the dough. We will be doing 4 of them after this set. So it's best to wet your hands a little bit. It helps the dough from sticking. There's different ways you can do it. I'll show you the first way on this round just to demonstrate. So you will pull up from underneath, you'll pull the dough. It doesn't have much elasticity, so you see how it's ripping? You're gonna pull it up. Let me see. You're gonna pull it up and over. You're gonna turn the bowl. You're gonna pull it up and over. And then you're gonna go under again. You're gonna pull up and under. Up and under. And you just wanna do that until you get around the bowl. So, as you can see, now the dough is looking a little bit more put together, not much because it's the first one. But as you will see, each round you do, it will develop into a more cohesive ball. So next round, I'm gonna do the folding method that I prefer, but that's a good stretch and fold to start before you do the other 4. All right, now 30 minutes has passed, about 30 minutes. So now we're going to move on to our second stretch and fold. I'm gonna show you the fold that I prefer to do now on instead of doing the picking up and pulling over. We're gonna do the coil fold. So my hands are a little wet. We're gonna go underneath and we're gonna pick it up. The dough likes to stick to the sides. I try to like help it up a little bit so it doesn't rip. And now we pull it up. And then we're gonna just kind of slap it down. Let me move this on a better angle. Sorry, my kitchen is a mess. So we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna coil it. See how it's kind of coiled over on itself? Now we're gonna put it down. We're gonna go down like that. I like to do like 2 or 3 rounds per stretch and fold set just because it helps build some nice tension in the dough. So you're gonna do that and you're gonna slap it back down. So I did that 3 times. Now we're gonna cover it. Look how it's more of a more cohesive ball. And we'll come back in about 30 minutes to do our, this will be our 3rd stretch and fold. So yeah. All right, remember you want your hands a little wet. We're going in for a 3rd stretch and fold. So we're gonna do the coil fold again. I'm gonna help assist it out because it likes to stick. Make sure you just... All right, so we have it coil folded. We're just gonna fold it back onto itself. Like that. I'm gonna do that 2 more times. Sometimes give it a little shake, slap it back down. Do it again. Slap it back down. We'll do it 1 more time for good measure. Slap it back down. And you can see there's already some little bubbles forming. So we could do this stretch and fold 1 more time if we want to, but I'm not going to because I got other things to do. So 3 is enough total. You could do 4 if you'd like. But now I'm gonna cover it and now I'm gonna let it bulk rise. I recommend taking a picture of what it looks like before you recover it. So then you can use that as your marker for kind of seeing where it rises. We want it to rise about 50%. We don't want it to double because it will continue to rise in the fridge once we're done stretching it. And there'll be other markers, which I'll show you later on. All right, so we let it bulk ferment for a couple of hours. I want to say the bulk fermentation started around, well, once you do the stretches, once you start stretching and folding, that's when it technically starts. But once I'm done with my last one is when I start the bulk fermentation timer in a way. So it's been bulk fermenting since around like 3:45, 4 o'clock. And what I look for to tell when bulk fermentation is done, and I can move on to the next step of pre-shaping and shaping, is to look at some features. One, I want it to be 50% doubled. I want it to rise 50%. I don't want it to double because you can overproof doing that. And I find most success with my breads getting to 50%. Also, there's some indicators that your bread is ready for the next step is that you can see that it's doming on the sides. See that there's like a little dome. You also see there's bubbles. You also give it a good shake and it jiggles. And also, if you touch it, it's not really sticking to my fingers. Your fingers would kind of get stuck if it wasn't ready. So it's ready for the next step. So now we are going to put it on the counter. I'm gonna lightly flour the countertop. I'm going to sprinkle some flour on the countertop just to help with it preventing from sticking. And now we're gonna pour our dough onto the counter. I like to assist it. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but I do it and I have not had an issue. So I gently assist it onto the counter and it'll eventually just come out on its own, but I give it a little bit of help. And there we go. It's out of the bowl. And now we have our dough ball. So now we are going to build tension. So typically I'll have it on the flour side and then I'll flip it over just because it's easier to work with. And now we're just gonna build tension. So we're going to kind of just fold it underneath itself. So we're gonna take our hands and we're gonna kind of go under and we're gonna pull towards ourselves. We're gonna do that on each side, kind of tucking it underneath itself. Tuck under towards that way, tuck under. And then you can keep tucking and you keep doing that. You see how it's starting to become a ball. You're gonna tuck it under. You can also wet your hands. Just a little bit. You don't want your hands to be too wet, just so it doesn't stick to your hands. And you go under. And now that it's into a ball shape, you can go around and pull towards you. Circle around and pull towards you. See, I'm going under and pulling and turning. Under, pull, turn. Under, pull, turn. And look at that tension that we just have built in this dough ball. You want to go under that dough. You want to tuck it underneath itself and you want to pull. So you're going to come under, pull, and go like that. We're not tickling it under. We're not going like that. We're going like this. We're coming under and we're pulling. So now you don't have to do it this many times. I'm just doing it like that just to show what it looks like. And now I might have done it a little bit too much. You don't need to do it that much to build the tension, but that's what I did. We're just building tension. And now that the tension is built, it's more round, it's got some structure, it's like bouncing, you know. It should have a little bit, I did it a little bit too much, so it doesn't look as pretty. But we're just going to let it be. Now we're just gonna let it rest. I'm gonna cover it with a towel for about 20 minutes and then we'll come back and finish shaping it. As you can see, I've taken the top off. Now it is time to do its final shaping. You can see that it's kind of flattened out a little bit. That's okay. I did overwork the dough a little bit, but I did that just to really show you the technique of pre-shaping. Pre-shaping, you'll know you're done pre-shaping the dough is when it's a plump ball that is smooth. So you'll know, but that's okay. I'm gonna save the day. But we have our floured bowl right here ready to go for the dough. So we are just going to pull our dough out like this. I don't know if I do this step right, but this has worked for me every time I've made a bread and all my breads come out pretty. So I'm just gonna keep doing it. So we kind of pull it out underneath itself into a rectangle. And I'm gonna do like, I guess, a modified envelope. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna pull it up and over. And then we are gonna take this other side. We're gonna do the same thing. Up and over onto itself. And then we're gonna take this back part, we're gonna pull it up and over, and then we're gonna close the envelope. Okay, now that we have the top over, now we're just gonna make it into a ball. And we're gonna do the same thing we did with the pre-shaping, we're just building tension again. So we're gonna go under it, and we're just gonna do the same thing I did. And do one more. And look at that, you could see that beautiful texture. So now what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna grab, actually I'm not going to because I don't think you have one of these tools. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to finagle this into the bowl that is right there. And we're gonna flip it on it. This side is gonna go down. So let me put this here so we can really see it on camera. I'm gonna move over. All right, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, into the bowl. And there we go, it's in there. And now it's in its final resting place. We're gonna cover it with the towel and we're popping it into the fridge for its final rest.